All right, so let's talk about intellectual property. And one of the biggest problems with any type of issue when it comes to so-called intellectual property is people not understanding what that is. So a lot of times, if you need to hire an attorney, it's to figure out exactly what you need. Do I need a trademark? Do I need a copyright? Is this something I can get a patent on? Is this a trade secret? Should I have some kind of a non-disclosure NDA or confidentiality agreement in place to protect me? So usually those are the questions that when this area of law comes up, it's trade secrets, it's protecting my idea or my invention, or branding my business. So a lot of those, the actual filing of something like a trademark, it's a couple $100 filing fee. You can do it online through the US Patent and Trademark Office. So the actual filing may not be that complicated to do, but you have to figure out, okay, what class, in terms of a trademark, you have to figure out, okay, is this something I can get a trademark on? What type of trademark? Is it, just basic lettering? Is it like a logo? What exactly is it? And then what class of goods and services is it going to cover? So you have to basically say, okay, I'm not just asking for a trademark over the name of my business or my product or certain, maybe a logo attached to it, to the product or service, but also this is going to be used in clothing. So I have to find the right category to register it in. So it's really kind of walking you through the process to make sure you do it properly. And then there's also follow-up. If you do an intent to use application, then you have to do some additional steps to once you start using it. And then there's renewals of trademarks, stuff like that. Patents can be very, very technical and specific, and you need someone to write the patent application. And I've never even done that. That's very complicated. Usually you need a specialized patent attorney. So when it comes to those more complex intellectual property type issues, can you file a copyright or a trademark on your own? Probably. You might mess something up in the process, and it's really not that expensive. Most trademark attorneys will charge you the cost of the filing fees, which is nothing you can do about, whether you do it yourself or you hire someone, which is $325 or $350 per class of good and service per trademark. And then basically you file it electronically. You have to make sure you fill out everything properly and know how to do it. But then if you do that, there's renewals, there's other things you have to do. So an attorney can help you. It's maybe between $500 and $1,500, depending on where you go, for the attorney to help you file the trademark and follow up with any renewals and stuff like that. So it's not a huge amount of money. Can you do it yourself? Yes. Have I done it myself? Yes. But you have to understand all of the specifics of the trademark application and the process to make sure you don't inadvertently lose rights to that trademark. When it comes to a patent, I would say anything that's patent, which is usually like an idea or an invention of a product or a process, you almost always have to have an attorney for that. A patent attorney is someone you want to look for because they are specially licensed with the US Patent and Trademark Office, and they're very familiar with the process and everything about a patent, and everything has to be very specific in that patent application. And the costs is usually several thousand to, I've seen them up to $40,000 because they can get very complicated with technical drawings that have to go along with it. So I would say that any type of patent application, you should hire an attorney. Copyright, same thing as trademark. It's relatively simple to do on your own, but you want to make sure it's done properly. And copyright is only over basically written type of material. That could be source code for software. It can be a book, a movie, the script to a movie. That's something that's copyright protected. When it comes to trade secrets, non-disclosure agreements, a lot of the standard forms you get online, I wouldn't really change too many of them. If it's a decent one, a lot of times I wouldn't even make very many changes to it. Sometimes clients send me some and say, hey, can you take a look at it? And I'm like, yeah, it looks fine. And they found it online. So I wouldn't say that they're all perfect, but you can find things like non-disclosure agreements online. If it comes to litigation, when it comes to intellectual property, so if there's a dispute over intellectual property, that can get a little complex. Like start getting cease and desist letters from lawyers, or you post something on YouTube and then you get a notice from Disney to telling you to take down your video because in the background there was a Disney music or Disney movie playing. That's a potential dispute or enforcement of intellectual property rights. I'm not saying you have to hire an attorney in that case. You could just take it down. But when it comes to any kind of disputes over or enforcement of intellectual property rights, those do get pretty complicated. And usually hiring an intellectual property litigation attorney is usually going to be a good idea. You're probably going to pay hourly $300 to $600 an hour with some kind of deposit down. But and it can add up. But they'll know how to navigate those waters of the different types of courts involved, depending on the type of intellectual property that you're dealing with. So overall, intellectual property, unless it's something basic, very basic trademark application or copyright or non-disclosure agreement, those are some of the things you might want to think, okay, maybe I can do this myself if I research it enough. Otherwise, most other areas, patents and intellectual property litigation, you really need to hire somebody for that because it's going to, get way over your head pretty quickly.